Good morning. Welcome to another testimony of God in my life and Susan's life in this particular case. This was more recent. We took a little trip to Georgia, and we have a large SUV, and uh, everything pretty went fine. We were following a brother in Christ, Odell Williams, a longtime friend, 30 plus years ago, and he was traveling alone and going to his mother's birthday celebration and a long visit down there. So we decided to follow him down, and we did. And so it's about 14 hours. So we split it up like 7 or 8 hours a day, and we stopped in Nashville and spent the night there, and then traveled on the next day. So we get there, and we've been there several days. And this car, when I had bought it, I had to add a little coolant here and there. Not much, just a little. It's probably got a little small leak somewhere. So, and then it started getting more as we're staying in a motel on Fort Stewart there in Georgia. And so Johnny and I kind of popped the hood, started looking around, and we might have an issue here. Because it kind of looked like it was mingled with transmission fluid, and I had just had that all serviced before we took the trip. Well, nothing bad was happening with the car at the time, so I ran it over to the shop there out in town. Finally found one that would get me in, and I had him check it out. And he said, "No, your transmission's fine. It's not leaking at all." I said, "Well, that's great." He said, "Come on in." And so I went into the shop and looked at it, and he says, "But you got a coolant leak." I said, "Oh yeah, really?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I've been adding a little bit here and there." And he says, "Well, see this Y and this T? They're made of plastic and they don't have metal clamps on them. They have to hook the heater hoses, which are 1 inch big hoses. So if they popped, you would be overheated in a quick period of time." Anyway, he says it's a flaw. They're designed, the plastic just doesn't last long. And this is a 2013 model, so it's only 7 years old. So anyway, and it was really hot. We're talking 97 degrees plus 97 humidity, and it was hot all the way from Missouri all the way down. Really hot. And the car's black, jet black as well, and dual air conditionings, and just a big stress on the cooling system of the motor and the cooling system of the car. And so I said, "Well, okay, what can I do to fix it?" "Well, I'll get a hose." So I said, "I'll run over to O'Reilly's and get a hose." Well, there's no hose. It's an hour away to get the nearest hose. I thought, well, I'll just go buy a plastic tee and fix that myself. So that's what I did. I went and bought a tee and some clamps and whatnot and paid them for. But even that was a blessing in and of itself that the guy spotted it, told me exactly where it was, and the transmission was no problem, and so on. So that was a blessing. We got in there and got out there for $25, $30, which was another blessing. I get this tee and I get the parts. We go back to the parking lot, and Susan and I are going to do it. So I pop it up, park it in the shade. Of course, we're melting down. And so I reach over and uh, snap the plastic. They're just plastic pressed, molded clamps that they're just put on from the factory, probably with a heat gun. So I snapped one off with a little pair of cutters. So I'm going to grab the hose to take it off of this tee. Well, the moment I took hold of it, the whole thing just crumbled right off. That end just came off. Now that doesn't sound like much, but in the middle of the night, downtown Nashville, with all the goings on, ridings and all this stuff, and you name it, middle of nowhere in the desert, out on the highways, broke down, overheated. It's a miracle that it just came off after we were here, had everything we needed, got taken care of, diagnosed, and we're going to pull the hose off, just give it a twist and off it comes. I mean, hardly any pressure whatsoever. So it was ready to fall off on the highway. Get that all put in, and praising God, shared that with Johnny and Odell and his family. We had a little get together and shared that to a bunch of young people and all of his family members that were there. That they may seem small to some people, but miracles, and you don't even know. I mean, you could just go on and on. But if we broke down the highway and then a drunk comes by and runs into your car on the side of the road, I mean, catastrophic things can happen that were all avoided because God took care of us. So I get that done, get it all taken care of, drive on back. get back to the house. We go to church that following Sunday, a day or two later. Coming up the hill from the church, air conditioning goes out. No, that would have been a very tedious trip. And those temperatures in a black SUV with no air conditioning. And I mean, the compressor blew up. It sounded like a jet engine whining, and then, and which was another blessing, believe it or not, because that put me in exact close proximity to a man that has a shop here by us who needs to know the Lord. And that just happens to be where I took it. And he ended up having that for a month. So we've had a few interesting conversations. Uh, I haven't went full board, as I've learned through the years. Sometimes you just got to wait on the Lord and His timing with those individuals before you're prompted to uh, share complete gospel. But so far, I've shared my testimony of how I went from a hardcore mean Marine to a servant of Christ, and how I'm trying to balance that. And so, and a few other things, and wood fishing and so on. So all that from to say this, from the air conditioning to the heater hose, it's all good. The car's all fixed. I have a new relationship with a man that definitely needs to know Christ, and has two children at home, a teenage girl and a younger boy, 10 or 12 years old, in a world that they have two phones, these kids, not one, but two. And so there's a whole array of things we talk about. So to God be the glory. And I just thank Him for all He does for us, known and unknown. Good day.